And here we go. Quick question for you. Episode number 1, which I realize is just a shortened 31 with more guests and better content, I think, because sometimes I think some of the guests bored you guys. So now we're just keeping it quick and hot with 20-minute, 15, 25. Who knows? If they're good, they keep going. If they're boring, I cut them off, giving you a better product. That's what we do here at the Content Factory. But your first guest is a good one, and he is very special to me, and that's why the reason he is going first is because he was the first comic I really looked up to and got to talk to. He was the leader of the comedy revolution in Vegas, and I remember going to watch him every Sunday night, and I just thought he was the coolest, and I watched him work his ass off and make it to the Stern Show, where he's been for, I think, 13 years, and he's always been so good to me and the other local Vegas comics and just all comics in general. So I love this dude. If you listen to Stern, you know him as Shuli, and if you don't, you should check him out. His name's Shuli Egar, hilarious comedian, and a major part of the Stern Show, biggest show in the world. So we're going to call him right now, and I know he'll answer because I pre-recorded this. So here comes Shuli. Shuli.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. What's going on?
What's happening?
Nothing, man. What's up with you?
Nothing. Doing the family thing here at home.
Oh, no work today? Or you're done?
No. It's Columbus Day, so,
Oh.
I know. The Italians run everything on the East Coast.
Well,
So
that's news to me. So everything's off today. I guess I should have left my house before noon. What's going
on with you?
Nothing, man. Just hanging out. What about you? It seems like a bunch of road stuff, man.
Yes, the road has been busy, and it's been good, man. I'm excited to be on the road and working out, new hour in much larger chunks and having some free time to work with it and let it breathe and figure stuff out. So yeah, the road's essential right now because of my schedule. It's tough doing spots in the city.
Oh, I'm sure. Between the show and the family, and then hitting the road, and
yeah, it's nonstop, man.
It's awesome. Well, a little backstory for the listeners: Shuli was my first favorite comedian. He started in Vegas before me, and I was so scared to do stand up. I would go watch him, and you would just crush it. And I'm sure they're not bits you're still doing, but I think I still probably remember half your bits in a back room of Vegas comedy.
Yeah, it was combat comedy, as we like to call it. It was a handful of people who, none of which really showed up for a show. They were just there losing their mortgage payments at a poker machine at a bar, and here we are starting up telling dick jokes, and they're like, they're losing their lives. Like, this is the last thing they need right now is some idiot. What's the deal with the gym these days? Am I right? Okay, great. Guys figured out how much money he's got left. He's done in one bullet. Just ended all. We're up there doing airplane bits. So, it was. But like I always say to people, man, if you can learn how to make 7 people laugh that have no intention of laughing, then 7,000 is a cakewalk.
Yeah. Would you have any? What's your favorite Vegas comedy memory?
Oh man, there's so many. We used to have this guy who was like, his name was Raid Zone. That was the name he went by. And he was like this known guy in the circuit, if you want to call it that, in Vegas. Because when we started open mics, me and my buddies Potter, Jason, we started them because there was nowhere else for us to perform. So Raid would come to these open mics, and he was terrible. He was a terrible comic. And whenever we would put him on, he would bomb, and it would stink. And but he was one of those guys. There's a lot of guys in comedy that are like, you ever see the horses eat with the blinders on? They don't see anything other than directly in front of them. So it's never his fault. And he used to always, come and literally heckle me or Jason or probably the other organizers of the show. And he would show up these open mics and heckle us to the point where we started coming up with bits in hopes that he would show up and heckle us and kind of just play this waiting game. So sure enough, this one Sunday night at the Boomer's Bar and Grill, I was up on stage and he showed up and he yelled something from the back, and I said, "You think you're funnier than me, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, well, how about we have a joke off, motherfucker? What do you think of that?" And he's like, "A joke off?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it right here, right now." And unbeknownst to him, my buddy Jason comes out of the back in a referee's shirt, and now we have a raid on stage, and we go joke for joke. So I start the first one, and I get a laugh, and he does his joke, and it bombs, and Jason rules me the winner of round one. Then we go to round two. I tell a horrible joke, gets nothing. He tells a joke, gets a couple chuckles. They give him round two. Now it comes to the third and final round. He goes first. He does his joke, gets a chuckle. Then I go, and halfway through my joke, my other buddy Potter comes out in a wrestling mask and blows powder in my face, like the old Mr. Fuji days. And I was unable to continue, and we ended up giving the game, set, and match to Raid. And as my friend is raising his hand, the referee, my friend Jason's raising his hand, proclaiming him the winner, that's when Raid realized we had planned this whole bit this whole time. And he got so mad, and he put his hand in, he goes, "Don't touch my fucking hand! Fuck all of you!" And just stormed out. And here we were, putting this whole plan together that hinged on him showing up and being an asshole. And sure enough, it worked out perfectly. There's that. There's the time this guy was up on stage at an open mic. I was waiting to go up, and he went by the name of Dagger. I don't know if you're familiar with the Dagger days in Vegas.
Yeah.
So he's up on stage, and some guy at the bar is, losing his house pain, and he's like, "You suck." And he's like, "Oh yeah." And he puts the mic in the mic stand, walks over, punches the guy, knocks him out in one shot off the bar. Walks back to the stage, gets on stage, and goes, "My name's Dagger. Thank you guys. Good night."
That's Vegas. Well, the crazy thing about Raid is he's still doing that shit.
Oh, I know. I saw that kid Sparta kick him in the chest, and it went viral. And I'm like, "Fuck!" And I know that I would have beat the shit out of him on camera years ago.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing is. So for the listeners, if you haven't seen it, just Google Heckler gets kicked in the chest, and it did go viral. I think it made it on Tosh. But then when it came out, people are like, "That was so mean," and all of us are like,
"Yeah, well, that's because they don't know him. They just see a retarded guy with an aluminum foil hat. Like, you don't know what an asshole he is. And, sometimes people deserve that shit."
Yeah, he was such a fucking ass. He still is. That's the thing. He still bashes me on his Facebook. He's so mad at me. I think.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, he ain't coming to that guy's shows anymore and yelling.
Yeah, yeah. He got it. Was an incredible kick that. The rest of the world hated, but Vegas comedy is like, thank God somebody did this. So,
well, we, for us back then, it was, a handful of open mics, and then like the finish line we were all looking to cross was to work at this hotel in Vegas called the Greek Isles Hotel and Casino. Mm-hmm. And the Greek Isles, formerly the Paddle Wheel, formerly the Debbie Reynolds Hotel, all these different hotels. How this place hasn't been blown up yet and demolished is beyond me. But the only people that stay there are pilots and flight attendants. Like, nobody gets a room at the Greek Isles. And sure enough, Sandy Hackett, Buddy Hackett's son, ended up doing a Rat Pack tribute show there that took off. They started bussing in all these old people from all over the country to come see this show. And one of the kickback Sandy got by bringing business into this dying hotel was they built him a little comedy club. And that's where I got most of my stage time, was in front of, 12s of people a night that, none of them bought a ticket. They all got a comp for ordering some shitty steak and lobster at the coffee shop. So they were all, you walk out to 12 people with their arms crossed, like, you're fucked, man. You got to figure that out. Yeah. And that was the great gig. that everybody was searching for, that
Yeah.
everybody was hoping to get to. So,
It's
Vegas comedy was like, man, if you stuck through that, you definitely paid your dues, and you're definitely a comic. If you're still working today, you made
yeah.
it through that storm. Yeah.
Well, it was cool to watch you like give us some hope to make it out because I mean, this was back when when you were just waking up. How early were you waking up to call Stern?
Well, I wasn't waking up. I was still awake. I
Yeah.
was, I was working. I was working part time. Most of the time, I went to a souvenir liquor store in Fremont Street for a while, and then I got a job pushing wheelchairs at the airport. And for me, it was like by the time I got home, it was midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So I would on the way home, I'd swing by Fat Burger, get my little meal for the night, come home, eat. By the time I'm done, smoke a joint. Then you look, it's about 2:30, and the show on the West Coast will come on live at 3 a.m. So my whole thing was I was a fan for many years. So I would just stay up and listen, and I would be fine with that. But yeah, I finally called in once, and like the movies, man. I dialed the phone one time, it rang. I got on hold. Next thing you know, I was on the air with them. And this was a guy who, I listened to for 11 years before I ever picked up the phone and called into the show. So for me, it was like I took that as a job, much like stand up. I was going to come up with questions, games, bits, impressions, whatever I could. Because for me at that time, it wasn't about working with them. I didn't have maybe in the back of my brain a wild dream of working with them, but it was more about contributing and playing ball with a show that got me through so many shitty times and shitty jobs, and I was a fan. I just wanted to play ball with these guys, So the ability to do that through calling was amazing, and the fact that people that were working there were like, "Yeah, he really likes your stuff, man. Keep calling." I'm like, "Okay." That was the crack in the door for me, so I treated it like a job.
Yeah, and then it became a job. Do you
Yeah,
still have do you have audio of those first calls?
I do. I have a lot of those calls on my website. If it's still up, I've just been doing social media, so I don't even know my website, but you can try it. It's shalomshuli.com. But I have a bunch of SoundCloud. I have a SoundCloud page, and I have a lot of the old calls on my SoundCloud page, which you can find, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I taped them all. It was a big deal for me, man.
Of course,
It was,
it's huge.
and it was funny. And it was funny because there were a lot of comics in Vegas that were like they didn't get it. They were like, I don't understand it. You're up at 3, 4, 5 in the morning. You're calling in. He doesn't pay you. He doesn't give you prize. Like I don't understand why you do it. And I always thought like, well, those people are always going to be where they're at.
Yeah.
If you don't take a fucking swing, man, how are you going to hit anything? You know what I mean? Like. And it was something that I enjoyed. It wasn't a job. It was a passion. And if you follow through on what you're passionate about in life, and you take in as much of it as you can, you'll very well have a good chance of doing those things later in life.
Well, yeah, you took a swing and fucking hit it so far out of the park. I imagine you could have never even dreamed how far this has come when you were making those 3 a.m. phone calls. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you had told me I'd be employed for 15 years by the show, from making dumb calls, like that's insane. But that's a credit to him and what a genius he is as far as finding talent and developing talent and like making people who most people don't see as interesting and finding what's interesting about them. He's long before AGT. He's always been a great judge of talent, and whether it's comedians, queefing, whatever it may be, he can spot it. And yeah, so it's been a dream, man, for real. Like
that's why he's the king. Okay,
that's why, yeah.
What about? So take me through your first day working there. How were you scared or like? How does that day go?
Well, so I get here. I get a call. At the time, I was doing an internet radio show with my buddy Potter and my other buddy Jason. And the only reason I was doing this internet radio show is because he had announced he was going to go to Sirius and he was going to give some of his regulars and whack packers an opportunity to do something on the air. And my whole thing was, well, I don't know how to be on the air, so I want to learn how to be on the air. So I went with my two friends and we literally rented airtime at a internet radio studio out in Vegas. And we did these shows every Saturday for like 3 weeks. And after the third week, it was a Saturday, I get a call after the show, and it's a guy named Tim Sabian. And he, at the time, was the program director of Howard's Channel. And he said to me, hey, listen, I got this thing. I can't really talk to you about it over the phone, but can you be in New York by tomorrow night? And I'm like, who the fuck is this, dude? I'm like, are you fucking with me? Like, I didn't believe any of it. I was just like, I ain't buying it, man. He's like, listen, I can't talk about it over the phone, but it's a big deal. I need you out here. Call me later. Confirm that you're coming. So, you knew me back then. Yeah. I was doing comedy full time, so I was making no money.
Yeah.
I just moved back in with my folks. I was living with my folks with my Thai on again, off again girlfriend. And it was, and I had maybe $200 in my name, $300. So I walk home. I go home. I walk up to my dad. I'm like, I need you to buy me a plane ticket to New York. And he's like, what for? I'm like, I don't know. They won't tell me, but they want me to come out there. And he did it.
Yeah.
And so I land in New York, and I go to the offices, and they bring me into this big boardroom. I have 3 joints rolled up in my cigarette box. I'm not a guy who should be in a boardroom. And they're like, so we want to play you a news brief because we want to do a news channel like 1010 Wins. They want to have a radio news element to cover the world of Howard. Everyone from the staff to the whack pack to guests, everything Howard related. This news team will cover it. There's about 20 people in this room, None of them look like me.
Yeah.
All of them are professionals. None of them are dirt bags, And so they play the news brief, and within 10 seconds, they say something wrong. And so I just stop it. I'm like, yeah, this guy is not a whackbacker. This guy, and that's when I realized, I'm like, oh, these people may be professionals, but none of them know the show.
Yeah,
like none of them, because they all are making a living. I'm living with my parents, so obviously. And so that day, I literally had to do like a mafia task force board, where you got the boss on the top and everybody's underneath. And I literally went through and explained to them who's who and what's what and what is the whack pack and what is this and who's this guy and who's Ronnie the limo driver and all these people and it was great and I really gave them a ton. They were so thankful. But I was brought out there for a 1-week audition, and now I'm day one. I've shot my wad. I've literally told them everything. So. Now I'm like, okay, I'm over the fear of being in New York. I don't want to go back home. So what can I do to stay? Like what position can I fucking either learn, create, or something where I don't have to leave? And I decided, well, I do stand up. I'm going to take recorder out into Times Square, and I'm just going to ask people about Howard, and I'm going to do crowd work. Like I'm going to try and fuck with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. I went out and I turned this recorder on and sir, you excited Howard's coming to Sirius Satellite Radio? He goes, I think he's a little juvenile. I go, okay, I understand. And how old are you, sir? He goes, I'm 48. I go, you're wearing a backpack. All right, take care. Thanks for talking. And I did like 3 minutes worth, and I brought it back to the station, and I gave it to the news director at the time, and she heard about 30 seconds of it, and she looks at me and she goes, this is fucking fantastic. She goes, we're putting this on the air. So now I'm like, okay, now there's another crack in the door. So now I'm like, I have to learn how to interview. I have to learn, because I'm not a journalist. I don't want to be one. But I am a comic, and I'm a fan of the show. And I know what's funny, and I know what's entertaining to me, a fan of the show. So I gravitated towards the whack pack. towards the wounded of the Stern world, and I knew a lot of them ahead of time too, so it was easy to kind of get in the mix and be the conduit between that world and the show, and that's what I've been doing ever since. 15 years later, as well as writing and producing, but that's my main beat, and it's I'm an army of one. I'm handling this whole crew,
so
and
awesome.
there's no there's no clocking out, there's no days off. They call me whenever something's up, and I'm involved in all of their lives. It's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I can't imagine the voicemails and stuff you get from the whackbackers and everybody.
And you learn the hard way. You got to let it go to voicemail because that's where the gold is.
Yeah. You need that content.
Do you want me to tell you about Gary the Conqueror wishing me Happy New Year in July, or would you rather I play it for you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So over the 15 years of working there, who have you met that made you the most nervous?
As far as people who work for the show?
No, or just in life. Who have you? I mean, I guess probably. How nervous were you that first time meeting Howard?
Oh, it's he's something else, man. There's an energy with that guy, dude. He's so brilliant, and he's such a genius at what he does. And, for me, I just try to fucking soak up as much of that as possible. But I can tell you without a doubt that I'm doing radio. I'm pretty confident I can go into any radio show, and I'm not nervous, and I know what I got to do, and I can deliver. But walking into that studio every single time, my balls go into my throat because it's the New York Yankees of radio. It's everything. I went from never swinging a bat to fucking being in the Yankees dugout. Like, it was insane.
Batting leadoff some days, yeah.
Yeah, man, yeah. So it's like, for me, it's like, man, I mean, as a comic, whenever Seinfeld's up there, I mean, for me, the comics are the Martin Short. When he was up there, I'm like such a huge Martin Short fan. I love the interviews, and I love their stories, and for me, it's the comics, man. I really get pumped when they come in, man.
Well, this is a stupid question. I'm going to ask it anyway, and I know it's probably almost impossible to answer. But what's like your favorite day up there? Is there one that really sticks out?
I mean, it would probably have to be this recent LA trip we just did. We did 3 live shows from LA. We hadn't done a remote with the show in years. Doing the show from somewhere else. So that was a big deal all on its own. The guests were amazing all 3 days. But on Tuesday, which happened to be my birthday, he had on Seth Rogen, and he had on Snoop Dogg. And he was talking weed with them, obviously. And we have a guy who works for the show. He's 39 years old. His name's JD, and he had never smoked weed before. And so we're in LA. It's legal. There's a coffee shop that just opened up there. They offered to get JD stoned, and it ended up that I went with him along with Ronnie, and here I am after years. And you know this, Brandt. Years of sitting in my boxers with a headset on, like the creepiest Time Life operator on earth, with a joint in the ashtray and a cigarette going, with a yellow memo pad with dumb jokes or questions on it. Every call I made to that show, I was stoned. And here we are 15 years later. I'm on the show. I'm high. and I got a 401k.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, if that ain't the greatest day, it's right up there with the birth of my kids, man. It's like, it was incredible. I'm sitting there laughing. I got tears running down my face. I'm going, this used to happen, but I would listen to my boombox. Like, now it's happening 5 feet in front of my face. So, I mean, listen, every day there, and fucking on its worst day, it beats plumbing.
Yeah,
that fucking
sure.
sucks. So,
for sure. Well, that's awesome.
What I mean?
Well, it's so cool. And I love just how much you appreciate it, because you really did find your dream job. And it's like corny shit. I think most comics feel that way, but I'm always like, like your guidance counselors, like if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I remember thinking that's like the dumbest shit. But I mean, I think
It is dumb, but it's also true
yeah,
because
yeah. But I never believed it could be true until you meet people like you that have actually are fucking. But like you said, you swung, and I hope to everybody listening, just go for. I tell people all the time. I come from a small town. So many people just get trapped there. I'm like, just the town's not leaving. You can always come back. Just fucking go for it sometimes. But
you have to go for it, and you have to have the support system, man.
Yeah.
And, it's one thing to get the opportunity to come out here and work for the show, but everything that's come after that, all the opportunities I've had and the stuff I've been able to do, the dream ain't possible without the right person backing you up. So my wife is the reason why all this shit is happening, because she's the real hero. She's the one stuck here while I'm out here, driving with high pitch Eric. She's the one dealing with real life shit. And I always tell comics, man, I say, you want a dream job, find the dream partner, man, because they're the only ones that can make that happen for you. And she's the funniest woman I ever met too. So
that's so
the
cool.
Combination of that, she can blow me off stage any day of the week. She's that good.
Well, that's awesome. But, well, man, I'm so happy for you, buddy. I know you're busy, so I appreciate you taking the time. But I just want to say, from me and all the Vegas comics, I tell you this all the time. You're probably so tired of hearing it, but we fucking always thank you for you started the scene, and you definitely gave us a reason to swing away. So we love you, man, and I appreciate you always being so cool.
Man, nothing makes me happier than seeing dudes that started with me, after me, before me, whatever. I don't care. We were a family out there because there was nobody giving us an opportunity to do anything but us.
Yeah.
So and even the nights where there was no audience, we still went up because we knew how hard it was to get stage time, and we knew how important that every time you step on stage is to a comic. Your worst show, you're still getting better. Yeah. So for me, it's like kids, man. I see James Mattern out here, Mad Dog, in New York. When I came out here for the 1 week audition, he came with me, and he ended up sleeping on the couch at my house for 6 months. And never asked for stage time, never asked for help, never asked to call this guy, drop a name, anything. The dude hit the circuit. He worked the circuit, and he's known by, you name the comic, whether it's Gaffigan, Louie, anyone in New York, they know him as one of the best hosts.
Yeah.
They love him. They know him as one of the best hosts in the business. And now he's doing, audience warm-up stuff, which is, you talk about difficulties, like to be funny for like 5 hours with people who are like visiting from Montana. It's insane.
Yeah.
So he's doing it all. And all you guys, man, I love it. I love seeing you guys crushing it, and it makes me very proud, man.
Well, we appreciate it, buddy. We'll keep killing it, and I'll catch you down the road somewhere.
Yeah, man. I'll be back in Vegas July doing Garrett's again.
Okay.
July week.
Well, I'll try to get on there, but if not, I'll see you out there or somewhere.
All right, pal.
Love you, buddy. Take care, bud. See you, bud.